What's going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again, giving you guys another very exciting top 5 video. If you guys are new here, feel free to click that subscribe button and that bell notification icon for more reviews, reactions, rankings, and more movie content. By the end of May is usually the start of the summer movie season. Unfortunately, you guys know what's going on right now, and so is the summer movie season starting in July if Tenet comes out, or is it starting in September? I have no idea. But I figured I would give you guys a very exciting video through these tough times right now. Usually I do this video obviously at the end of the year like all of us movie reviewers do. I figured, guys, I would give you my top 5 favorite movies of the year so far, and my top 5 worst movies of the year so far. I've seen 35 movies this year. If you want to see a list of all of the movies I've seen so far in 2020, my Letterboxd link is in the description box down below. Be sure to go check that list out. Let me know down below in the comment section your guys' top 5 favorite movies of the year so far and your top 5 worst movies of the year so far. Of course, if you want to do top 10, do that as well. Most of these movies I've not revisited on a rewatch, so this is my thoughts overall in the film on first watch and how I felt about the movie overall, my positives, negatives. If you want to go check out my in-depth reviews for all of these movies, I've done reviews on all of them on my channel. We're going to start with the worst, then the best. So let's start with the worst, shall we? So coming in at the number 5 spot is going to be Like a Boss. Now this is a comedy that came out in January, starring Selma Hayek, Rose Byrne, and Tiffany Haddish. And I saw this movie back in January, and I absolutely did not like it at all. It was pretty much the definition of a really bad January movie all around, full of unlikable characters. Yeah, I've only seen it once. I didn't like it at all. And Tiffany Haddish is an actress I've been kind of very disappointed with lately. The only movie she's been really good in is Girls Trip, and that's about it. And Rose Byrne can be funny at times as well in other films, but their chemistry, both of them, don't work. Selma Hayek is really annoying as well. The comedy is just forced all around, and it has a really cliche storyline. At number 4 is going to be The Turn-In. Now this is another January horror movie. You got Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things and the It movies, and you also got Brooklyn Prince from the Florida Project and Mackenzie Davis from the most recent Terminator Dark Fate, where Mackenzie Davis's character is called in to work as this, like a teacher or a nanny job. I honestly don't remember. And she's trying to look over Brooklyn Prince's character, the little girl, try to help her in different subjects as well as take care of her. And then Finn Wolfhard's character has like these strange powers and abilities. He's kind of like has demons inside him or whatever. This movie is just really bad. And you can tell that a lot of the special effects in this movie weren't even finished. It's got really predictable plot lines that you can see from a mile ahead, a really awful ending, and characters that, once again, that bring you to sleeping. Like, I almost fell asleep many times during this movie back in January. I just want horror movies to be good. That's all I want. But unfortunately, it came out in January, so you obviously know you're gonna get a really bad one. And The Turn-In is one of those films. Speaking of really bad January horror movies, we got the very first movie that came out this year in 2020. That is The Grudge. Now, oh my goodness. What even is The Grudge? What is its main purpose? It's a very stereotypical horror remake that just does everything boring. This movie is just boring. All of the horror elements in here that are presented just felt really underwhelming and very Hollywoodized version of what you can expect from this type of horror remake. The characters are really unlikable as well. The story goes absolutely nowhere with what it's trying to do and where the characters are going and what mysteries they have to solve. Just nothing makes sense at all. Some positives to come away with is the cinematography does look cool. There is that one tracking shot that became the poster of the movie with the hand in the hair. Just, that's about it. The Grudge was just bad. You guys know it's bad if you saw it. And the ending. what were you trying to do with that ending? You know what I just noticed? Most of my top 5 list has been horror movies. That just shows how bad this year has been in the horror genre. And speaking of that, my number 2 is Brahms The Boy 2, the sequel to The Boy. Now, I did watch The Boy for the first time leading up to the sequel, the one with Lauren Cohen. It was okay, fine. Didn't like the twist, really. And this sequel was really no much better. It was even worse. The lead boy has this connection with the doll that you saw in the first movie, and in here it's just really dragged on. The movie's only like 80 to 90 minutes long, and it feels like it's 2 hours long because the pacing is so bad. I don't get what they were trying to do with this movie. Were they trying to set up like this trilogy of boy movies?
No! God, please, no! No!
Were they trying to end it off here? Like, the motivation makes no sense. But coming in at number 1 for me is Fantasy Island. This is easily the worst film I've seen this year. So far, I was very curious to see this movie. I've seen the trailer so many times at all movies I've seen in 2020. They show that trailer all the time. Blumhouse is very hit or miss. You can either get a Get Out and Whiplash, or you can get something like Truth or Dare and Fantasy Island. Like, this is the worst I've seen by far. You got the filmmakers of Truth or Dare doing this movie, so you obviously know what you're gonna get at the end. Crap. Just crap. Michael Pena, why are you even in this movie, man? You're better than this. You're really good in the Ant-Man movies, but in here, you're just non-stop exposition. It presents a lot of cool ideas. It could be like a guilty pleasure or a hilariosity even, but the way the film just goes, it just goes into nothing. It just becomes like this movie you're focusing on so much, and you end up just laughing at it. You're just laughing at it that a film like this actually exists now, and we have characters that use social media as a weapon to defeat the evilness, and that's what Fantasy Island definitely describes. It's a 2020 movie now where social media can end up being a weapon. Before we go to the best list, guys, if this is your first time checking out the channel and you're enjoying the video so far, smash that like button. It really helps with the algorithm. Consider clicking that subscribe button because I do tons of ranking videos, movie reviews, Blu-ray videos at the end of the month. I also have a podcast called the Fallen for Film Podcast where I dive into all the newest movie reviews on a weekly basis, and for my channel, I do this on a weekly basis. Without further ado, here's the best. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Onward, the newest film from Pixar, and Onward was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. If you have a brother or some type of sibling, you can definitely relate to this movie. Onward was great. I love the voice cast from Tom Holland and Chris Pratt as Ian and Barley. Both of them as brothers work really well together. They have their good moments and bad moments where they have to try to figure things out. Now, it's not a perfect movie. It does have some issues. Some of the comedy doesn't work, and some of the other characters I wanted a little bit more development or information from to make me care about them. But other than that, Onward just brings the feels in by the final 10 to 5 minutes of the film, and it's just another fun adventure from Pixar. Coming in at number 4 is actually going to be a movie that premiered at last year's Sundance Film Festival, and it premiered worldwide in theaters this year. That is The Lodge. The Lodge was a really terrifying, gritty horror movie that felt like Hereditary in a cold, snowy, isolated place. I thought she was terrific in here, Riley Keough. She was really great in here as this kind of innocent person at the start, and then she just slowly just does stuff that you're questioning her character's motivations, but just it turns into such realism. That's what The Lodge definitely feels like. It has those twists and turns that could feel realistic and very dreamy like as well. There's certain cinematography shots out in the middle of nowhere that just really invested me, got me hooked, and was just in awe with it. Jaden Martell as well gives a really great performance in here. Still have not seen Defending Jacob yet. I heard he's really great in there as well. But just Jaden Martell as this, kind of annoying brat at the start, and it just takes him a while to get used to new things around here. There's events that happen at the start of the movie where you can understand where his anger's coming from, and it just works. It has a lot of family drama, it has the Hereditary elements, and it's just kind of like Hereditary with the feels, and it just worked for me. If you guys have not seen The Lodge yet, definitely watch it. Number 3 is going to be Guy Ritchie's new gangster film, The Gentleman. This movie was badass. It was awesome. It's great to see Guy Ritchie actually direct another really good, cool gangster film, and this is coming from a guy who was not a huge Guy Ritchie fan. The only 2 films I really like from are last year's Aladdin and The Gentleman. The Gentleman might actually be my favorite Guy Ritchie movie. This movie was so cool, it was so gangster, and this movie just gave us the Matthew McConaughey back. Charlie Hunnam was awesome in here. His character was really funny, really witty, and Henry Golden as a villain, awesome. And we got to talk about an actor I'm not really fond of his films, but Hugh Grant was awesome in here, and I loved him in Paddington 2. I might prefer that as his best performance, but The Gentleman is right behind it. He was really funny in here, really cool, really swaggerific. This movie's just really swaggerific. That's kind of a new word there. The Guy Ritchie cuts didn't bother me at all. This movie really worked for me, and I'm sure it did for you. Coming in at number 2 for me is probably what you're expecting to be number 1, but I actually liked another film more. My number 2 is Leigh Whannell's The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man was so good. This movie is how you do horror suspense right. And Leigh Whannell is just a phenomenal filmmaker. After Upgrade, I was just highly looking forward to seeing this man's next film. And it was The Invisible Man, which is a classic Universal monster. We saw the classics from the 30s, and it has a huge fan base, and now Leigh Whannell bringing his own take. Now, I think still Elizabeth Moss gives the best female acted performance of the year so far. This is, if there are going to have an Oscars this year, this is the Toni Collette of this year. This is the Lupita Nyong'o of this year. And what do I mean by that? It's that fantastic horror performance that the Academy completely overlooks at the Oscars, because Elizabeth Moss in here gives some of her best work yet. The visual effects are top notch. Just the one scene with a paint can just was groundbreaking filmmaking right there. But coming in at number 1 for me is going to be The Way Back, directed by Gavin O'Connor, who I personally believe is the most underrated director working today. Seriously, go watch Warrior, go watch The Accountant, Miracle, and all this guy's filmography, and The Way Back as well. Starring Ben Affleck, very great choice, great casting in here. And for me personally, Ben Affleck gives the best male acted performance of this year so far. Ben Affleck gives, I think, his best performance of his career. Now that could be debatable, with Gone Girl, but I do think this is the best I've seen from Ben Affleck. It's a perfect role for him to play as he's struggling, as this coach who's struggling with alcoholism and just going through really depressing family drama. Now, a lot of people complain that the basketball team, you don't get connected with any of them, but I thought that really worked in here, seeing certain kids in here just getting used to a new system, getting used to Ben Affleck as the coach, forming a relationship in there, and it just flowed very nicely. And the family drama as well was really well incorporated in here. I love The Way Back. This is the best film I've seen this year so far. When more movies come out, we'll see. This is my favorite movie of the year so far. There you have it, guys. Those were my top 5 best and top 5 worst movies of 2020 so far. I gotten many questions from people. Everybody asked me one of my favorites. What's my worst favorite? There you guys go. Let me know your list down below. Let's have a great discussion. Thank you guys as always for watching this top 5 list video. All my social media links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!